Poor Jen Psaki. Peter Doocy keeps lighting her up every time she has a press conference. But her biggest problem is the legacy media is beginning to light her up now. The Biden administration is not helping her at all. I don't expect Jen's going to be around much longer. This is Gene, and you're listening to Dumbasses Talking Politics. Hey, this is Gene. Welcome back to Dumbasses Talking Politics. So, you notice I didn't have a podcast yesterday. That's because I procrastinate. So what happens is I actually go to my website, I write my show notes, I do everything there. Unfortunately for me, I actually have written 2 podcasts for this week because there's so much going on. And I didn't update my website in a long time, and then I don't have an SSL certificate for security's sake, and what a pain in the butt. And I knew this was coming. I've known for a couple of years this was coming. I just never dealt with it. Well, now you know what my story is. One of the reasons I don't do this at 8 o'clock in the morning is because I procrastinate. I just figure I'll do it at 2 o'clock every day. So yesterday I had to dump $300 to fix the website. I got the website fixed. It's working, sort of. Now it looks like I still don't have my certificate on there, which I'm going to have to call them to get. I think I got hacked, to tell you the truth. I think I actually got hacked. They said there was a security issue. They went in, they cleaned up some code. 3 of my web pages are gone. And now I'm looking, I see my PHP needs to be updated, and I can't update it with my current theme for my website. So it looks like I'm going to have to do that. It's going to take me probably a week to get this thing back up. You still can go to Dumbasses Talking Politics, .com, and it'll work. You're just not going to see any of the other pages. So be prepared for some changes to the website. I really love the website, but hey, what are you going to do? Okay, so let's talk about what I was going to do is I almost skipped yesterday's podcast, and I decided no, I'll do it today, and then I'll do another podcast tomorrow, and I can actually add some of the news stories into this podcast because they're there. Jen Psaki, this poor gal, she has it rough because she has to answer for one of the most incompetent administrations in United States history. And I don't think right now, I really do not think I'm exaggerating. This Biden administration is beginning to make the Carter administration look fantastic. She's dealing with inflation, high gas prices, supply shortages, the Afghanistan debacle, the immigration crisis, the mixed messaging with the China virus, China already threatening Taiwan, and of course the Hunter Biden scandal, which, yes, it's a scandal. I think we can honestly say that this is now officially a scandal, and it is going to haunt this administration. More on that a little later. And by the way, I'm sure I'm forgetting more. There's so many different things out there that Biden is doing. By the way, one of the things Biden is doing is Happy Indigenous Peoples Day. What a load of crap that is. Well, Happy Columbus Day, by the way, because Christopher Columbus actually did something. I don't know what the indigenous peoples did that they deserve a day. When are we going to see White Man's Day? White People's Day. I don't understand. We have Black History Month. We have Hispanic Heritage Month, which I think is this month or last month. I can't remember which it is. We got Gay and Lesbian Month. We've got LGBTQ Pride Month or whatever it's called. When are we just going to have White People's Month? You know why we don't have White People's Month? Because white people makes up a lot of different things. So, anyway, happy Columbus Day for those who I missed it yesterday, and I was really going to go off on Columbus Day. But I might still. But happy Columbus Day, because I really think Columbus Day is a big deal. By the way, going back to Jen Psaki, I actually don't feel that sorry for her. I think she's a lying sack of garbage. She's just as bad as the Biden administration. She's just, you can hear it when she speaks, when she's, I'll circle back, blah, blah, blah. Everyone makes fun of that, but it really just goes to show she really is a lousy speaker. But last week, she particularly had a brutal week. And that enter Steve Doocy. Steve Doocy has got to be the arch enemy of Jen Psaki because he asks really good questions. He's from Fox News, by the way. Now, we could make the comparison between him and, let's say, what's that other character's name? Jim Acosta from CNN, what he was like to Trump. Except Jim Acosta never asked Trump any questions. He'd just lecture him. So he really went at her last week. So let's take a look at some of these questions that he asked. So here's the big problem we're having. We're having a major supply shortage, supply line problem in the United States. Now, it's happening all throughout the world. A lot of it's because of COVID. In the United States case, the problem is not because of COVID as much as they can't get enough people to actually work. So Peter Doocy says, okay, well, let's go at it. And we're having a major supply chain problem. Even Vice President has warned that this could be a big issue come Christmas time. And he goes right at her, right off the bat.
First on the economy, there are 500,000 containers floating off the California coast with nowhere to go. Major issues in the global supply chain right now. The vice president warned that this could happen in August. So why wasn't more done to prepare?
For the global supply chain issues?
Yeah, she was talking in August about if you want to have your Christmas toys for your children, now might be the time to start buying them because the delays could be many, many months.
I asked that because we've been talking about the issues in the global supply chain since January. And the president has not only put in place a task force, but we have taken a range of steps to work to address. Now, it's not just about ensuring that we are having different companies speak to each other. We've certainly done that. We've been a forum for hosting different industry leaders to see what we can reduce in terms of red tape in the process. One of the biggest issues in the global supply chain is also COVID, and the fact that COVID continues to be a threat to supply chains that are happening globally. So we've also worked to be by far and away the largest provider of vaccines, know-how, manufacturing capacity to the world. So we've not only been talking about this since January, we've been working to put in place a range of steps to help address the challenges in the supply chain.
A lot of this stuff that Jen Psaki is saying is garbage. And one of the things I like to point out is how she speaks and how she answers questions. So the first thing she does, which is a huge mistake, is she answers the question with a question. You mean the global supply chain? Now, we know why she did that. She did that to point out that this is a global problem. This is not a problem within the United States. And it's not a problem with the administration. The reality is it is a problem with the administration. It is a problem with the United States. If you look off the coast of Los Angeles, there are 50, 60 ships that are waiting to get into the ports of San Pedro so they can have their product pulled off the ship. It's the same problem they're having over in the Atlantic side, New York and Florida and Virginia. They're having the same problem. So it is an administration problem. I also can't stand the way she actually just throws up words. And a lot of it doesn't answer the question. And you'll notice she didn't really answer the question. So the question would be, what is the administration doing to improve the supply chain? And do you know what we got out of that? A task force. Okay, well, what is the task force doing? What has changed to improve the supply chain? And then, of course, she blames COVID again, the China virus again. Newsflash, the pandemic is over. Get over it. The pandemic is over. If it wasn't over, there wouldn't be 50 to 100 ships waiting off the coast of San Pedro. There wouldn't. So the pandemic is over. She's blaming the pandemic, and the only thing I got in this whole thing is that they set up a task force, which no one knows what they're doing with this task force. And then she goes into a word salad with what they're actually doing. Well, Peter Doocy, which is nothing. They haven't done anything with it. The task force usually says, implement these actions to get this done. They haven't done a thing. So Peter Doocy is not having anything to do with this. So he wasn't going to let her blame the China virus or the errors of the administration. And here he goes, pushing again.
And as we understand it, it's not just COVID. There are also labor shortages and issues with shipping lines here, overground shipping lines in the U.S. Is the president satisfied that his task force is doing a good job?
The president recognizes that there are several layers of the challenge here that contribute to the bottleneck. And on ports and transportation bottlenecks specifically, the president appointed a White House ports envoy this summer, John Percari, to work with Secretary Buttigieg and bring stakeholders, labor, private industry together to help solve the global transportation supply problems. The fact that he designated and appointed someone at that level with a range of vast experience shows that this is a part of the issue we're absolutely focused on. We're also focused, as I noted, on the work of the supply chain task force, also the semiconductor shortage, which has been an issue that has impacted a range of industries, and we're working to attack the challenges in the global supply chain at every point they are in the bottleneck.
Okay, again, she's not answering the question. Are they doing a good job? And the only thing she points out that they're doing is they're having meetings, and they appointed a guy. Okay, so in other words, you're not doing it. Nothing has been done that's going to solve this crisis. This is a crisis. When I want to go the Tickle Me Elmo or whatever the hell the big toy is going to be this year, I'm not going to be able to get it because I can't get here. Its shelves are going to not be stocked. The Wall Street Journal is actually talking again about shortages and toilet paper and paper towels. We already see they're putting limits on what you can buy. I bought paper towels. Josie and I bought paper towels. And I had to charge my paper towels separate from hers, even though we live in two different places. And the one thing is, if there are several layers to this, why doesn't she address the several layers? Why does she just go off and blame the China virus for this? Because the reality is, the problem is because people are not working right now. That's what's causing this whole thing. People are being paid to stay at home. They're making a ton of money staying home. I mean, the child tax credit is still going. So if you have 3 children under the age of 12 or something, you're making good money just by staying at home. You don't need to work full time. That's the problem they're having at the shipping companies. And that's the problem they're having with the chip manufacturers and all that. They're just not, they don't have the people to go out and work. And then notice, the question was, is the president satisfied with his task force? Not who you added to the task force. She never answers the question. But Doocy isn't finished. Oh, no, sir. He has a particularly brutal question here, and I think this completely sideswiped Jen Psaki.
Thank you. The Democratic candidate for governor in Virginia, Terry McAuliffe, who President Biden stumped for over the summer, now says the president is unpopular today, unfortunately, here in Virginia, so we've got to plow through. Why do you think the president is unpopular in Virginia?
Well, just if you look at facts and the polling, the president is the most popular figure in Virginia of anyone currently running for president or any former recent president. So I just note that in terms of the data. But I would say that the president's agenda is incredibly popular. That's probably the reason why former Governor McAuliffe is also running on that agenda, whether it is reducing costs for the American people on child care, on elder care, making sure the tax system is more fair, rebuilding our roads, rails, and bridges. Those are all components of the president's agenda that he has a huge agreement with former Governor McAuliffe.
Okay. No, this is a great question. And you know what? He's not popular in Virginia. Virginia is a blue state. It's a completely blue state. Hillary Clinton won that state by a lot. Biden won that state by a lot. Obama won that state by a lot. It is a blue state. McAuliffe is neck in neck with a Republican candidate, I can't remember his name because I don't like him, that is really iffy. That Republican candidate, he's very iffy. I've heard him speak, and I'm like, God, that's the best the Republicans could come up with? Here's the problem. Not only he is by not popular in Virginia, he's not popular in California. And I'll give you a step further. His spending policies and his tax policies are not popular either. That is a lie. It is not true. And how can we tell? He is tanking. He is underwater in every poll. He's underwater by 12 points in some polls, 8 points in others. He's at 38%, the lowest poll they have him. They have him between 38% and 43% approval. And that's with 50% disapproval. He's completely underwater. This is a great question. And if they really think the bad polls are because of, well, no. She already told us what she thinks the bad polls are from. Here, listen to this. She actually said this, and this was the dumbest statement I have ever heard. But this is why he's got such bad polls.
Go ahead.
Thanks, Jim. The president's very tough approval ratings these days. I know you probably like to talk about polls, and you might say that they don't mean anything, but it's also fair to say the White House, when there are good polls, you publicize them. So what do you make of these really terrible polls? Are they that he's doing something wrong? Is it just the communication? Or is it he's doing popular things that have to be done? Or something else?
Sure. Well, look, I would say that this is a really tough time in our country. We're still battling COVID, and a lot of people thought we'd be through it, including us. And because of the rise of the Delta variant, because of the fact that even though it was a vaccine that was approved under a Republican administration, even though we now have full FDA approval, and even though it's widely available across the country, we still have a quarter of the country who have, less than that, 20% of the country who've decided not to get vaccinated. No question that's having an impact. And of course, as the president has said, the buck stops with him. That's far and away the biggest issue in the minds of the American people, and it's impacting a lot of issues. We've talked a little bit about the supply chain. We've talked about, people's safety and feeling in the workforce. And so our focus is, yes, not exactly on the day-to-day up and downs of the polls. Our focus is on getting the pandemic under control, returning to life, a version of normal, so people can have security and going into work and dropping their kids off and knowing people will be safe. And that's where we think we should spend our time and energy.
This answer is maddening. It's the China virus's fault. It's the unvaxxed fault. But the buck stops with Joe Biden. Does she even... See, here's the problem. The left doesn't seem to understand how bad they sound. The buck stops here, but it's Trump's fault. But it's COVID's fault. But it's the unvaxxed fault. But it's white men's fault. It's straight white men's fault. This is what they keep saying. Well, the buck stops here. Well, if the buck stops here, why are you blaming the China virus, Trump, and the unvaxxed? And what does the unvaxxed have to do with his poll numbers? There aren't that many people that aren't vaccinated. And how can she be so unaware that she's blaming the polls on COVID and the unvaxxed? How can she be so unaware as a press secretary, which I'm assuming she knows how to write, I'm assuming she knows how to read, that she is saying that the president is taking responsibility while blaming everyone else. And she's doing it in the same sentence. How can she... And the other thing that is really... And this is a real turnoff to a lot of people. But she is actually so dismissive of the problems that this administration is creating that's causing problems for us. We are the ones suffering. Inflation. The inflation is so bad right now that a economic company found out that people are paying an extra $175 a month to survive. An extra $175 a month. That's gas, groceries. And you keep hearing Joe Biden say that, oh, well, everyone's income is up. Yeah, well, because people are hiring at a higher rate because they can't get anyone to go to work because the government keeps paying them. It is just so maddening that this administration, the good news is we are a minority, conservatives, moderates, moderate Democrats. I'll even go liberals, because I like to call them leftists. Leftists are what Jen Psaki is. They're the majority. We're the majority. And a lot of people hear this stuff and they're just not buying it anymore. But it's just maddening to hear that they just keep doing this stuff. Anyway, back to Peter Doocy, Doocy filleting Jen Psaki. Last week, Biden, this is a great story. Biden personally called a hospital because the wife of a good friend couldn't get in the hospital right away. And he was trying to, well, he was essentially trying to get preferential treatment for his wife. For whatever reason, they didn't take him. We don't know why. He was trying to use his presidency to give preferential treatment to his friends. How elitist of him. This isn't a secret. It shows the concerns of who the president is really concerned about. And here's Doocy questioning Psaki about it, like, why did you do this? Why did he do this? And what came about?
And then just one more topic following up on his remarks yesterday. President Biden claims that he cold called a Pennsylvania hospital to ask the desk receiving nurse why it was taking so long for a good friend's wife to be seen. What happened next?
Well, the context of why the president told this story, which I think is important, and I promise I'll answer your question, is that he was expressing that hospitals, frontline workers, nurses, doctors in emergency rooms are still seeing and feeling the impact of the number of people who are unvaccinated, who are filling beds in emergency rooms, ICUs, and it is preventing, in some cases, people who have other illnesses, who may be seeking treatment, who may be fearful of a heart attack, other people who might be going to the emergency room from getting the care that they need. I don't have any other update for the privacy of this individual.
Okay, if you've got kids in the room, you may want to turn this down. Bullshit. None of that is true. That's an absolute lie. Here's the context. The context is he wanted to get his friend's wife seen right away. It is stupid for him to have actually brought that up in front of the press, because it's a really bad elitist look. But as usual, he does something like that. He does something elitist, and she blames the China virus again. Oh, well, it's the unvaxxed and it's the China virus. That's why he wanted to check up on. So he calls a front desk nurse to what now? To get your friend in? I mean, does she think everyone is stupid? I would have done the same thing if I had a friend's wife, and I would have said, hey, could you do me a favor if I had some authority? But the reality is, I admit it, yeah, no. He didn't give a damn about the China virus or the unvaxxed. And you can tell it's all BS, because she just freaking word vomited all over the place. I mean, she just came up with everything. This is one of the things that just trips me out about these people, is they sit back and they crap. So much crap comes out of their mouth, you can almost not remember what the question was. And she never answered the question, by the way. She said, I'll answer the question. No, you didn't answer the question. You said you don't have any reports on it. Okay. Maybe we need to circle back to Joe Biden. When Joe Biden does this, because Joe Biden does the same thing, he does word vomiting all the time. He's asked a question, it takes him 30 minutes to get through an answer, and then there's never an answer. And by the time that comes in, either you've fallen asleep, turned off the television, or forgotten what the question was. He does the same thing. It's garbage. It's really You know what would be refreshing? If you got 2 or 3 word answers to everything. That would be refreshing. Here's the problem. That was Peter Doocy. I keep saying Steve Doocy because I use his cookbooks. But that was Peter Doocy. It's not just Peter Doocy that's attacking now. The problem is the legacy media, who's been hiding the ball for Biden for a couple of years now, they can't hide the ball anymore. People see what's going on. People are not happy about it. These polls are killing Biden. And if they decided to keep defending Biden even with all these polls, this is going to be a problem for them. They're going to lose legitimacy. So here's CNN, and I use his name because I couldn't believe he asked this question. I didn't even know he was a press corps for the president. Jeremy Diamond. He was asking about the economy and the horrid job numbers for September. Poor Jen Psaki. God, what a day.
And then just going kind of big picture here, today we saw another jobs report that fell well below expectations, the smallest jobs gains in nearly a year. Gas prices are at a 7-year high. Inflation is up. The president is struggling to get the rest of his Build Back Better agenda passed through Congress. How do you assess where things stand right now with regards to his presidency? And do you see a need at this point to course correct, perhaps?
We certainly don't see things as darkly as you do. Look,
Jen should try and see things as darkly as he does. Because we all see things very darkly. And we see things darkly because Joe Biden's policies are killing us. Everything that reporter said was absolutely correct. And he even did try to sugarcoat this question. He tried to ease her into this question. There's no easing into this question. This is a huge problem. Inflation, the supply chain problems, the border crisis, all this stuff is happening. And people are being affected. And she is... Oh, it's dark. Basically, this comment I cut in the middle because she's blaming the reporter for being observant, and she's trying to make it that this isn't a real problem. This is just something you're coming up with. Most people do not see the failures of this administration. That is a very dangerous take when your poll numbers have dropped 12 points in the last 4 months. That is a very dangerous attitude to take.
the president's focus is on leading through a challenging time, and that has been his focus from the first day he took office. If you look at the data month over month, as I noted a few minutes ago, he has also created 5 million jobs under his presidency. We've created an average of 500,000 jobs a month. We are at a faster rate of economic growth, a lower rate of unemployment than in quite some time. That's progress. That's moving exactly in the right direction. And as it relates to the president's agenda, we're continuing to press forward with members of Congress who have a broad range of views about the path forward. But we're making progress. The president remains confident we're going to get it done. And this is what governing looks like.
No, she's wrong. This is what incompetence looks like. Okay, she's doing something. She's trying to spin her way out of this whole thing. She's trying to spin her way out of, hey, we're doing a good job. Really. Look. Yes, 5 million jobs have been taken. I hate the word created because the government doesn't create shit. All right? But we should be at 9 to 12 million jobs that are taken. We have 10 million open jobs now. Now, it's something I didn't realize until I heard it in another podcast, Ben Shapiro's podcast. Yes, there were 194,000 jobs created, and they're trying to push this. And it dropped to 4.8% unemployment, but 183,000 people actually dropped out of the workforce. So that's 183,000 people that are not even counted anymore. I didn't know this. I heard this, and then I looked it up. The economy is heating up. It should be going up. But here's the problem. It's not superheating. It's not heating that much. Don't forget, last year we had an economy that was completely shut down by the government. The economy should be flying all over the place right now. And it's not. And she throws all the sugar on the table. Oh, unemployment's down and we're creating 5 million jobs, blah, 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 but she's ignoring inflation, soaring gas prices, and the national debt, and supply chain problems. She ignores all that. And she ignores it even when when Peter Doocy asked her about it. So this administration is basically hiding head in the sand and hoping this stuff, for some reason, goes away. I mean, the fact that this administration does not see any issues, refuses to take responsibility, blames everyone else for their shortcomings, and then says, no, we're on the right track. This is not being embraced by Americans. And that is why he's way down in the polls. And this is going to be a killer for the 2022 elections for the Democrats. This is going to be a killer. And right now, we are in serious danger of entering recession territory. And there is no way Biden's going to be able to blame Trump on that one. Here's another question about something that I think is going to be a huge scandal. This is about Hunter Biden and selling $500,000 worth of finger paints that he did. Now understand something. I've seen these paintings. I could put paint on my cat and throw it against a canvas that's hung on the wall, and that's basically what Hunter Biden is doing. Again, listen to what Jen Psaki does here, because it's absolute. It would be funny if it wasn't something that's actually quite serious and needs to be answered.
The ambassador designate to India was seen reportedly at an event in Los Angeles last week, an art gallery event that featured the artwork of the president's son Hunter. The ethicists who have pointed to this arrangement have expressed concern that the president's son selling art could potentially put the president in a situation where those who seek jobs either in this administration or favors from this administration and could put this White House in an awkward position. First of all, what is the White House's response to the fact that an ambassador nominee was at this event? And secondly, should we expect to see more people who seek jobs in this administration attending events like this in the future?
Well, to be clear, we've spoken to the arrangement that is run by the gallerist and Hunter Biden's representatives that the White House provided suggestions for. I'd refer you to the gallerist for questions about the event and as well as the representatives of Mr. Garcetti in terms of his attendance.
Okay. Just to follow up, this is exactly what ethicists said they were worried about.
What is specifically?
The fact that the president's son...
That he reportedly attended an event?
Well, the president's son would be selling artwork and then meeting potentially with people who would seek to buy it. If you have attendees at that event who might be seeking either jobs in this administration or favors from this administration, isn't it an awkward situation to put the president in?
Again, the gallerist has we've spoken to the specifics, what the gallerist has agreed to, and what recommendations were made. I've done that several times. I don't have additional details for it from here. I point you to them. Go ahead.
So does this White House not have any concerns about the photos that have emerged of showing Hunter Biden at that gallery alongside prospective buyers?
I point you to the gallerist on specifics of the restrictions that were put in place.
Great, but what about the position of this White House? This is a president who ran on being transparent, and
And we were very transparent about what recommendations were made to the gallerist, and I would again point to them or the many times I've spoken about that from here.
Okay, so what we're going to do is, I'm going to go over a Hunter Biden thing in a second, because he's going to be a big issue. I don't think President Biden is going to get through the rest of his presidency without having to deal with this. And I got news for you. This whole thing with Hunter Biden is impeachable. And it's getting really ugly, because now even the mainstream media is beginning to hit it. The legacy media is beginning to hit this. Now, Jen does some things here, again, that are really irritating to me. First off, she avoids the question by saying that someone else has the answer. In this case, the gallerist. That is a chicken crap way of doing things. She does this all the time. So when they're asking, okay, so how many people are left in Afghanistan that have visas that are American citizens? She'll say you need to go to the State Department. You need to go to the Defense Department. You need to ask them, why doesn't she have that information? Why? What do you mean? You're the press secretary. You're speaking on behalf of the president. The president, if you should be unknowing the same thing that the president knows, within reason. Also, she minimizes the issue. There was an ambassador at Hunter Biden's art exhibit. And there was potential ambassadors at Hunter Biden's art exhibit. It looks like corruption. And she sat back and said, well, what? Because he just showed up there? Yeah. This is what I'd like somebody to actually say to her. Yeah. Why is a potential ambassador visiting an art exhibit for Hunter Biden? A guy who wants to get hired, again, more on that later, but a guy who wants to get hired by Joe Biden. Why is he at that art exhibit? She's truly a terrible press secretary. And it's really beginning to show. She's getting short-tempered. She has to do this every day. And I gotta believe, she's actually getting sick and tired of having to answer questions because this administration is incompetent and corrupt. I'll throw this out here. She said she would resign in a year. Prepare for that resignation by January. She will be out. And by the way, in January, that'll be a year. This must be putting a ton of stress on her. And she even sounds like in these meetings, she's going to pop. And by the way, she's a ginger. She's already unstable. So you can't sit there and forget that. Now, speaking of Hunter Biden, I have said this. The Hunter Biden issue is going to be an issue. It is going to be a scandal. The media tried to cover it up last year. When his first laptop, he's lost 3 laptops for Christ's sake. When he lost his first laptop, which by the way, that laptop is with the FBI right now, nothing's happened. We don't even know if they're investigating it. But this is turning into a scandal, and the mainstream media cannot hide this anymore. They are beginning to ask questions. So let's take a look at Hunter Biden. Just a short list. He has a drug problem. He likes hookers. The above 2, we know for a fact because he films himself taking drugs and sleeping with hookers. We even have a thought that this guy might be sleeping with underage girls. Why? There's film of it. He was the head of a board of a Ukrainian oil company when old Joe was vice president. He was on a board of a Chinese company when old Joe was vice president. He made $5 million from that Ukrainian oil company. I don't even know what he's making. He had an affair with his dead brother's wife. He illegally owned a gun. That illegally owned gun was thrown into a trash dumpster across the street from a school because his girlfriend, who happened to be his dead brother's wife, thought he would commit suicide. He's under FBI investigation for corruption and tax evasion. He's impregnated a stripper. He used the N-word in text messages with his lawyer. And there is actually another story, which I haven't been able to confirm yet, about him making a comment about Hispanics. He's lost 3 laptops. One is with the FBI, and the other now might be with the Russian intelligence. On that laptop, he may have information, emails. Each of those laptops has emails related to payments to his father. Again, more corruptions. More corruption. That's just a short list of the shenanigans this guy's been up to. These are the only ones I have on the top of my head. So what does this guy with a list of achievements like this do? Painting. He starts painting. Because that's what I do. If I was, looking at prison time, knowing that I'd never get prison time, I'd sit back and start painting. Find something to do. Seems like a wholesome, legitimate, and relaxing hobby. I write to relax, so this kind of makes sense. Maybe that'll keep him off the crack pipe. I enjoy it. Maybe he enjoys painting. But here's the difference. I'm not that great at writing. I know I'm going to finish a book. You're going to hear about it every freaking day when I'm finished it and I publish it on Amazon. I'm not expecting to make money off of it. I do it because I enjoy it. But Hunter Biden, he's making money. A lot of money. And he's doing it with some really sketchy people. According to the New York Post, quote, at least 5 prints of Hunter Biden's artwork have already been sold for $75,000 each, and a team of lawyers is vetting potential patrons who plan to attend his upcoming gallery show in New York City, which has now been delayed due until the spring, the Post has learned. The George Burgess Gallery sold the prints before October 1st opening of a pop-up presentation in Los Angeles. A source familiar with the matter said. So what ended up happening is they just threw this artwork here, and it was all 5 pieces were sold right off the bat. It's unclear who purchased the reproductions, which cost a fraction of the top price of $500,000 for an original piece by the President Biden scandal scar son, or if any more were sold after the LA Open. So we don't even know what he's selling here. This stuff just was bought. We don't know who bought it. We don't know who sold it. By the way, the art industry is one of the most corrupt industries in the world. A lot of art that is out there today is actually stolen during wars, during unrest, things like that. And it's also very hard to track who got what. So what do we normally call that in the law? It's called money laundering. Continuing with the Post story, quote, but most of these allowed to buy works are longtime private collectors with gallery, people that Burgess knows personally, the source said. And by the way, the Burgess Gallery, they've actually got kind of a sketchy history when it comes to taxes and fun stuff like that. So let's be careful with the Burgess Gallery. This is not a place that is really, how shall I say, without question. Continuing with the story. Meanwhile, a leading ethics expert told the Post that Biden's recent schmoozing with with attendees at his debut exhibition showed that the White House attempt to prevent influence peddling by keeping buyers anonymous won't work and should be scrapped in favor of Plan B. What's Plan B? We don't know. We have no idea. Supposedly all the potential buyers are screened and their backgrounds are investigated by lawyers. I would assume they're Hunter Biden's lawyers. I would assume they are lawyers for the Burgess Gallery itself. We don't know who these lawyers are. That's not mentioned in the article. Do you know who showed up there? Los Angeles Mayor Eric Garcetti. He went to the exhibit. Why? To purchase? Does Eric Garcetti sound like... Well, first off, if Eric Garcetti dropped $75,000 on a piece of artwork by Hunter Biden, he's got crappy taste. And the other problem is, where is he getting $75,000 of just cash to just drop around? Right? I mean, he's a career politician. He's also in the running to be the ambassador to India. So... And that plan to keep the buyers anonymous, yeah, that didn't work out. That's not a thing. Hunter Biden was actually caught taking... there were pictures of him actually socializing at the galleries. So that's not working. This was a lie by the Biden administration, and it is a huge violation of ethics rules. Many say that old Joe can avoid all this mess in 3 ways. 1, publish the identities of the buyers. Let us figure out who these people are and what they are. Let us look at the background. Because apparently the Biden administration is not looking at that. 2nd, have all who are going to be involved in the administration sign recusal letters, so they will not hire anyone who has bought any of this crappy art. That hasn't been done. And finally, tell Hunter Biden not to sell his crap until after old Joe is out of office. That won't happen. It hasn't happened, and it won't happen because Hunter Biden, well, he has a right to make money. That's what they're saying. And he's making money now. He's not going to make money when Joe is, drooling in a chair while he's watching Matlock after his presidency has ended. The kid has been an embarrassment and a hangnail for old Joe. The media now we know why Sleepy Creepy Joe is creepy. His son took it right after him. The media did everything they could to hide Hunter during the election. Remember that Post story last September that came out about his lost laptop, which wasn't lost. He effed it up by turning the laptop in to get repaired, then never got it. He's lost 3 laptops, and all fell into the wrong hands. And we don't know where it went. He thinks, one, again, with a Russian hooker, he sat back and said, on video, why this guy films himself boinking hookers all the time and using dope, I don't know. But he sat there and said, well, I think I lost it. I think a Russian intelligence might have it. Sleepy Creepy Joe Biden is compromised. This is a huge problem. This is a problem that could lead to an impeachment. Hunter Biden is so stupid and arrogant, he's not even hiding it anymore. It's getting to the point that Joe Biden's going to have to start answering questions on this whole thing. He's not going to be able to hide this much longer. Okay, well, I had a third story, but it's already 47 minutes in. So I'm just going to wait for this story tomorrow. We're going to run late again tomorrow because like I said, I've already written 2 of these podcasts, and I can't skip any of this stuff, even if I have to go long. Visit my website at dumbassestalkingpolitics.com. I know you're going to see all of the publishings, video, audio, fun stuff like that. I need to redo the website, so it may go down for a little bit. Don't be too shocked. I hope you guys have a great day. We'll talk to you tomorrow. This is Gene, and you've listened to Dumbasses Talking Politics.